Hi everyone, and welcome back to our podcast.
Welcome back.
And this is a podcast, as you're hearing, we decided to do in English because it's linked to Shin Megami Tensei 5, which many of you might have already known is going to be released on Switch. And the reason, because we're doing this podcast in English, is just because the main Shin Megami Tensei audience is English speaking. So I wanted to address an issue, let's say, that's coming in the community after the announcement of the game. And so I wanted to make this podcast in English just because maybe some of you who are listening have already shared your thoughts about the release and the dates and the announcement of Shin Megami Tensei 5. And okay, so the new trailer was released last week with a live event, which was, I have to admit, not that great.
Yeah, it was actually like 1 or 2 minutes footage with just a few glimpses of some scenes and places, spots, and just that.
Yeah, the problem is they announced it like it was going to be a great event with a live direct on YouTube and other channels, and I was expecting something like, do you remember the one they did for Radiant Historia when they also announced Eternal Odyssey 5? No, Eternal Mystery Dungeon 2. And of course Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Deep. That was a full-fledged 1 hour or so podcast live event with interviews, of course, in Japanese, and we didn't understand anything. I was expecting something like that.
Yeah, it was cool. It was okay. At least they provided some interesting things to watch.
Yeah. This time, just another teaser trailer, because it wasn't even a full trailer. It was just, I think, 30 seconds long.
Yeah, not even a teaser for me, just 2 scenes.
Yeah. And I think that was not okay for me, but just quite useless. I mean, and I've seen a lot of comments in that video and on the internet and so on, talking about how disappointed people were of this announcement. Both in terms of, many people was blown away because they said, "Oh, great! This is Shin Megami Tensei 5." I wasn't expecting anything less from that, and I was giving that for granted after the first teaser they showed us for during E3, maybe, can't remember when. During the Switch Direct. So having Loki is that?
Thor?
No, the character wearing mask, golden mask.
Wasn't that Thor?
No, I think it's Loki or Odin, maybe.
Odin, yeah.
Odin. Seeing Odin that way, which is the same way he appears, and that's the same Odin that appears. They said, I haven't played it yet, in Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse.
Yeah, me neither.
So I was already sure it was going to be Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Yeah.
Okay, the subtitle was New Shin Megami Tensei Game, but guys, let's be honest. I would have been very disappointed if it was just a remake or a spin-off or something like that. Maybe, at least. I would have been very happy if it was a remake of the first 2 Shin Megami Tensei games with a modern engine.
New graphics.
Yeah. But the only possible alternative was, to me, a new chapter in the main series. And again, many people complained about it being exclusively on Switch. Okay, I've seen also some pretty famous YouTuber channels famous about Shin Megami Tensei, just based on Shin Megami Tensei, like Shin Megami Talks and so on. complaining that they're not going to buy a Switch for Shin Megami Tensei, and I think that's okay. I mean, people doesn't buy a Nintendo console for Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah, I won't buy that.
So
it's okay.
If you buy a Switch for Zelda, for Mario, for Mario Kart, for Smash Brothers, and so on. But guys, all the main games in the series were on Nintendo platforms, except for Nocturne.
Yeah, the third one.
So first two games were on the first Megami Tensei games were on Nintendo Entertainment System. Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2 were on SNES. Nocturne was on PS2.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, PlayStation since was just in terms of JRPGs was the successor to the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
So I can see why that move. Shin Megami Tensei 4 and Apocalypse were on 3DS. So it's all in and Strange Journey, which is part of the main series somehow, was on the Nintendo DS. So I'm not that surprised.
No, it was.
Also because it was shown firstly during a Switch Live Direct. So guys, it's not it isn't a real piece of news.
Yeah,
seeing it
could
coming.
have been on different platforms, maybe available on different consoles.
I don't know, but it only felt I wasn't at all expecting anything like Shin Megami Tensei 5 on PS4.
No, well,
Don't know why, but the feeling I already had since the first teaser was, guys, Atlus is going to be super cool going with the Switch.
yeah.
And
For me,
For
it's one
this-
of the software houses that is Nintendo based. With the focus,
well,
so more or less. in
well,
that
I have to
respect,
admit
they're
that
against
even
the-
on PSP and PS Vita, there are a lot of Atlus titles.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
but not Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah, the Persona. Okay,
Persona is another
Persona
thing.
is on PlayStation, let's say, and Shin Megami Tensei is on.
Nintendo, so I see it that way.
Me too. Even if you can see, if you remember, PlayStation 2 had many great Shin Megami Tensei titles like
Yeah,
the two
Kuzunoha.
Ride of Kuzunoha 1 and 2, and also they had the two Digital Devil Saga, which I'm super curious about, and I think I'm going to play that for sure.
Yeah, we could play that on our channel, maybe.
After we
Yeah.
finish Nocturne, not sure I'd like to go on
Maybe
with something that big.
Far in the future,
And
it
it's
could be.
2 games, not 1.
Okay.
So I think I'll play it on my own, and maybe I'll use them, of course, in the retrospective I'm
It's a
making.
reference, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not going to play them on the channel.
Oh, it's too bad.
And this thing has escalated so much.
Yeah, so quickly.
And there are articles on Kotaku and many other websites like Siliconera, where they posted an article referencing to a Famitsu interview to Kazuyuki Yamai, which is the director of Shin Megami Tensei 4,
Yeah.
which is again here the leading head after Shin Megami Tensei 5.
So that's a guarantee.
Yeah, and again, he said that they decided to put it on Switch, and I'm quoting, because so that fans can enjoy the game story in HD at home on their TVs while playing portable or tabletop mode, to put in the grind to level up and use demons and fuse demons at the comfort of your own bed.
That's a great idea.
Yes,
Honestly,
I mean,
that's great.
I haven't finished Zelda Breath of the Wild because I'm playing it on Wii U.
Okay.
If I had it on Switch, maybe.
Could have been very different.
Yeah, maybe I'd have completed it already, and maybe I'd have slept a lot less in these last months.
Yeah.
But again, yeah. But that's not, to me, a real justification, let's say.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, any game that comes on Switch is because you can play it both on TV and as portable.
Okay, but for a JRPG which has a bit of grinding, demon fusion, it
Yeah,
could be an added value.
yeah,
so
yeah, okay, but-
great plus for me.
The thing I'm
Like
trying
playing on
to.
3DS,
Yes.
and then having the possibility to also play it on a bigger screen.
But that's not a peculiarity of this game alone. It's the Switch works this way. So of course you're publishing it on Switch because Switch has this chance. A real reason for me could have been okay, we wanted something to include motion controls. I hate that, but Nintendo Switch is the only one which has motion controls built in the console. So okay, or maybe they chose the Xbox One because they wanted to implement Kinect functionality. Those would have been, let's say, not a selling point, but major reasons to publish them on specific consoles. I think they didn't want to give away any more information on that, but just because they didn't have any. To me, I think that Nintendo has exclusive on the Shin Megami Tensei series. Maybe that's just a form of agreement between the two companies.
I agree. Must be. It might be like that.
And another reason people is complaining is that they won't buy it because it will be in English only.
So that's so stupid. I've read everything on the internet about Persona 5 and the same brand, so I won't buy that. Like no Italian, no play, or some silly things like that.
I am a bit torn about this because, as you, Stefano, you know, and some of you might know, I work in the localization industry, and when I read these kind of comments, I'd really like, and I really doubt Atlus is going to listen to this, but I'd be super happy to be in charge of the localization of any Shin Megami Tensei game into Italian, French, or Spanish, or German, and that would be awesome. And I think that could help a lot the franchise spread, especially in the old continent. That said, I wouldn't be here working in the industry if I wouldn't have started playing games in English. And it was in the 80s. So we're in 2017 now, and I know this might sound a little elitist or snobbish or so on, but guys, it's 2017.
Yeah, for me that's not acceptable. Just that.
If you want to face the internet world, the industry world, and the work world, English is a must. Again, just don't hate me for this. And again, working in the industry, as many players do not know English and need to play games in Italian, the more I earn, let's say. But that's not an excuse to me. So, and that's a point I struggled a lot about when talking about Mass Effect Andromeda, which didn't include any Italian voice recordings, and people has gone crazy. Oh, why Electronic Arts didn't choose to record?
So the voiceover and
the problem is the money.
Yeah, it costs so much.
If a game doesn't sold enough, it's not worth localizing or just translating or even adding the English audio, so the Italian audio or the French audio or so. Anyway,
it depends also on the game. I mean, I wouldn't be happy to play a Shin Megami Tensei or Persona game in Italian. It would be too weird for me.
I'd be happy to play it if I was sure that the localization process was done with the right amount of time and effort spent in it.
Almost impossible to make Japanese things.
Exactly, you have to convey the same feeling into Italian. Like when you read some manga in Italian, you always have things explained about the Japanese culture, because maybe someone who approaches the manga world as a novice doesn't know anything about Japan and so on. But I'd like to handle those localizations myself. It would be great, even if I'd hate to spoil me the complete game. But anyway.
Or else, shut up, Apollo, eat your hamburger.
Exactly. Yeah, he's referencing a super cool comic.
Like a meme.
Comic / meme, yeah, on the internet about the localization of Apollo Justice and the Phoenix Wright series, which was awesome to me, even in Italian.
Great
But
game.
the great step done to localize the game from Japanese to English was hilarious, and there are many things where, like, the game are supposed to be set in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Then you have
While
these
you have the
kind of shit-faced temples and
Mount Fuji in the background and so on. So it was hilarious, and the game was quite fun and not that serious. So
Yeah,
you
so
can
that's
afford those kind of inconsistencies. Having that in a Shin Megami Tensei game would be quite heavy as a change.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't see that well. But if you manage to convey the localization of a Shin Megami Tensei game, keeping all the Japanese culture references and so on, I think that can be done. Especially today, when gamers are much more used to the Japanese cultures and way of living and so on. So, okay, Shin Megami Tensei 5, you're seeing in the background the two teasers.
Yeah.
Have you seen that, Stefano?
Yeah, it wasn't anything exceptional, but
No, I think the graphics looks good, quite good.
Yeah.
I was strangely attracted to the fact that we have a first scene which seems set in modern Tokyo or so on.
Yeah.
But then in the outskirts of town, you see everything destroyed and like after an apocalypse.
Yeah, it could be like the start of the game and then the usual second part in which there's an apocalypse. And
I'm not that sure. I think that's just an opinion. I haven't read anything about this. I think I haven't played Apocalypse yet.
me neither.
I think that's set in the same world as Shin Megami Tensei 4 after Finn and company destroys the what is it called?
Firmament.
The firmament.
Yeah. Is it like the neutral ending, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, you see in the trailer, you see a lot more light than in Shin Megami Tensei 4. People can see the blue sky and so on, but again, all around town is destruction. So I think that might be some kind of a renaissance of the world, of town, of Tokyo.
Could be.
And they have to deal with the rest of the world which is destroyed.
Okay.
Not sure, just my interpretation I'm making out of the small trailer we have seen.
Yeah. And what about this main female protagonist?
It's not a female.
No?
I
Because
think
I've read things about that female figure going around and...
I'm not sure those are even the main characters.
Okay.
I mean, one of them gets eaten alive by demons. Using another fake death scene after the intro of Shin Megami Tensei Apocalypse would be too much of an echo,
Yeah.
let's say. So I wouldn't do that if I were Atlus. And yeah, there's not much to see. I am very happy to know there's an actual Shin Megami Tensei 4 game after this such a short time, because if you remember, I think from the Shin Megami Tensei 3 to the 4th there was, I don't know how many years, but maybe 10
I think
years.
at least 10, yes,
Yeah.
something like that.
Might
It
be
was
2004.
3, 4, yeah.
And Shin Megami Tensei
At least.
4 was to 2013, 14, I don't know. So this time we're getting a new Shin Megami Tensei chapter in the new generation of console. So in subsequent generations, so it works to me.
Yeah.
I think I'll buy a Switch, but not for Shin Megami Tensei 5. I'm into it a
Just
lot.
a Nintendo fan, so natural.
Yeah, I waited for some major release to be out.
Like Mario Odyssey.
Mario Odyssey, Mario Rabbids, and so on.
Yeah, so many.
and I think this is the right time to buy a Switch. Again, having the new Shin Megami Tensei 5 only makes me more happy for the purchase of a Switch. But that's not a selling point to me. And yeah, that's it. I just wanted to address the fact that many people are complaining about the publication of the Switch on the Shin Megami Tensei 5 on Switch, and a lot of people complaining about the missing localization, Italian, French, German, and so on localization, which is nothing new. I mean, a lot of people is complaining about no news at all, both in terms of release and in terms of languages.
I mean, I really love Atlus as a software house, but they can't afford to translate their games as many very important software houses can, so that's not possible.
I mean, that would be possible now they're part of Sega.
Okay.
And Sega localizes all of their games.
Okay.
Be it a game like Sonic Mania, which is very few words on screen text, or a great, huge strategic game like the Total War series. So they localize their games completely.
Okay.
Not sure they're going to support Atlus on this, and I think that even Atlus knows that if a Shin Megami Tensei game doesn't sell that well in Europe, maybe it's not worth translating it. But again, that's it. We'll see what happens. In 2018? Even if I'm not sure the game is coming out next year.
Do you have a date? Or
no, I don't have. But I have a general feeling that maybe it will be out in Japan next year. And maybe in 2019 in the rest of the world.
Yeah, it could be. We haven't seen almost anything just yet.
Yes.
So.
And if you remember, Persona 5 took something like 8 months.
Yeah, more or less 1 year.
Yeah. So.
From
and that was
first teaser trailer. I liked
no,
that
I mean
a lot.
from the Japanese release.
Oh yeah.
It took, I think, almost
a
a
lot
year.
of months. Yeah, more or less a year.
And that was even more. A game that had much more appeal to the major audience than this one. So yeah.
That's great. I've been playing it for like 40 hours.
Not even remove the envelope of the game. Too many games to play. So that's it. Just let us know what you think about both the release and the missing European localization. And these things both could change in the future.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to respond, maybe to reply to many of the people who's complaining about these 2 points. Just our opinion, of course. So we're more than happy to discuss that in the comment section. And we'll see you in the next podcast. Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.